Hello, thank you so much for your interest in the Thrive grant program from Rhode Island Humanities. This is the information session from September 2025 to share with you more information about the program. So thanks so much. So just to introduce ourselves, first off, my name is Julia Renaud. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm the Associate Director of Grants and Humanities Initiatives at Rhode Island Humanities. And I'll let my colleague introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Julia Aguiar. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Grants and Humanities Initiatives Coordinator. And if you'd like to reach us, we both read the grants at Rhode Island, rihumanities.org inbox, so feel free to send questions there.
Great. So just to go over what we'll be discussing today, first off, we'll be providing a quick introduction to Rhode Island Humanities, who we are as an organization, and then we'll really be going in depth into the Thrive General Operating Support Grant Program. So we'll talk about who is eligible for these grants, how you can use the funds from the grant. Also, if we get more eligible applicants, then we have funding available who will be prioritized to receive the funding. We'll also talk about what you'll need to fill out the application and what the application looks like, as well as the timeline for the program. Additionally, if you need any support preparing your application, we're going to talk about different options available, as well as what will happen next if you receive a Thrive grant. And then if you do have any questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to us and we'll share with you all of that contact information as well. So first off, Rhode Island Humanities' mission is to seed, support, and strengthen public history, cultural heritage, civic education, and community engagement by and for all Rhode Islanders. So you can really see our philosophy in this statement, that we see our role as seeding, supporting, and strengthening. We know that the public humanities are happening all over the state all the time, and it's really our role to resource them through grant programs such as these and amplify everyone's fabulous work. In terms of what we support, this is a great place to start in terms of how we think about the public humanities. So public history, cultural heritage, civic education, and community engagement. And, in this particular program, cultural heritage and public history are highlighted, as we'll see in a little bit. And then in terms of who our organization serves, we really do seek to be by and for all Rhode Islanders, and we are always looking to realize this vision more fully. So in terms of who we are in more of a nuts and bolts way, we're just over 50 years old. We were founded in 1973, and we are a private 501c3 nonprofit. So we are our own independent organization. We're not a state agency or a government agency. But we do have an affiliation with a government agency. So we are the independent state affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities, which is a federal agency. And there is a Rhode Island connection there. Senator Claiborne Pell was instrumental in the founding of the NEH, as well as the National Endowment for the Arts in 1965. We're one of 56 state and territorial humanities councils, so we have our colleagues all over the states and U.S. territories. And, because of this kind of unusual status we have a number of different funding streams. So we do receive federal funding. We also receive funding from the state of Rhode Island, which is particularly relevant here. We also get private funding. So we're grant makers as well as grant seekers. We receive money from donors, from foundation grants, sponsorships by businesses and other organizations, etc. We will just note that due to federal funding cuts for humanities councils that occurred in April, our federally funded grant programs are currently paused. So if you're familiar with our major grant program and our mini grant program, which are, supported by federal funds, those are currently on pause.
Thanks, Julia. And that's a great transition to what the Thrive program actually is. Funding for this program is from an allocation from the state and an extra legislative grant that we are very, very grateful for. We are able to provide 20 general operating support grants of $5,000 to eligible organizations. And these funds can be used for eligible expenses related to organization operations. Okay, so who is eligible to apply? There are a couple of things that an organization must comply with to be able to apply. The first is they must be located in Rhode Island and primarily serve Rhode Island residents and visitors. You must also be a nonprofit registered with the state. Federal tax exemption is not required. And you must meet the definition of one of the two types of humanities organizations. And this would be by self-determination and based on your mission and programmatic activities. And those are a cultural heritage organization or a local historical or preservation society. And some organizations may be both, but you have to be at least one of them. You must have a projected income in your current fiscal year of $150,000 a year or less. And your organizational leadership, like board, staff members, or other types of leadership roles, must meaningfully reflect the communities that are served by your organization, which are defined by your organization. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Okay, so what is a cultural heritage organization? It is an organization whose mission and programs include a focus on the preservation, perpetuation, and promotion of heritage, histories, and/or cultural practices and traditions representative of a particular culture and/or people. A local historical or preservation society is an organization whose mission and programs are dedicated to the preservation, perpetuation, and promotion of a history and culture of a particular place. Okay, so the organizational leadership requirement, we will be asking three questions on the application, and we seek to support the organizations led by the communities that they serve as defined by your organization. So, given the eligibility criteria, it is likely that eligible organizations primarily serve people from a particular heritage or cultural background or people from a particular location. So on the application, you will first see a narrative question that asks you what communities your organization primarily serves. Next, we will ask you a yes or no question if your leadership meaningfully reflects those communities. And then lastly, you will tell us in a narrative question, a narrative response, how it is meaningfully reflected.
Right. Thank you, Julia. So we've talked a bit about who is eligible to apply. And so just to go over quickly who is not eligible. So individuals are not eligible for the program, neither are for-profit organizations or foreign entities. The program is not for K through 12 schools or institutions of higher education or for state and local governmental entities. And nonprofits who do not fit the eligibility criteria are also not eligible. And just to note as well, we do not accept fiscal sponsorship for this program, just because eligibility is so tied to who the applicant is. So in terms of what you can use the funds for, this is a general operating support grant, as we've said. So it's different than a project grant where um, eligible expenses are really tied to realizing that specific project. In this case, we're really just hoping to support the organization's existence and the realization of its mission. So I'm going to share some line item categories that are eligible, but this is not comprehensive necessarily. And if you have a question about a kind of expense, if you're not sure if it's eligible, just feel free to reach out. But some operational costs that are eligible include staffing, rent and utilities, program supplies and materials, website and database development and maintenance, marketing and communications, technology equipment. So past grantees have bought computers and printers with these funds, minor facilities repairs and or improvements. So imagine a rail has fallen off your ramp or something like that, or you need to install a security system, that would be fine. Physical and digital accessibility improvements. So say you need to install a ramp, that's fine as well. And then consultant fees. And just to confirm, there's no cost share or cash match requirement for Thrive Awards. So It's a $5,000 award, and you don't need to demonstrate any other funding to match it. In terms of what you are not able to use the funds for, this is a significant list. Just to confirm, again, these funds do come from the state of Rhode Island, so we want to make sure that they're compliant with all of the relevant policies and regulations. So because it is a general operating support grant, you are not able to use the money for expenses unrelated to the operations of the grantee organization. You cannot purchase alcoholic beverages or firearms, guns, or explosives. And you're also cannot use the funds for the purchase of land and or the construction of facilities. You can't use it for the purchase of gambling equipment or anything related to gambling. You would not be able to use it to do your own grant making program or prize or reward program, or to make donations or loans to other individuals or organizations, or place the funds in the custody of any individual. We do plan to notify all applicants of award decisions by December 12th. So there's no retroactive funding. So you would need to use the funds after that date of December 12th, 2025. Also, you cannot use the funds for the promotion of a particular political, religious, or ideological point of view, advocacy of a particular program of social or political action, support of specific public policies or legislation, lobbying, or political activities. So really a straightforward way to think about this is that you'd be able to use the funds to do a program about educating people on the history of voting and how to vote. You would not be able to do a program promoting specifically, telling people who they should vote for, what they should vote for. We're really here to support education and informed dialogue rather than programs that are really directive to taking specific social or political action or supporting specific public policies or legislation or lobbying. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us. You cannot use the funds for transportation of voters or prospective voters to polling places, any fundraising or for-profit activities, payment for entertainment or amusement activities, or any activities that are part of a graduate or undergraduate degree program or for which academic credit is received. And if you'd like to, review this more thoroughly, this list and all this information is on the application as well as our website. So you're welcome to do so.
Thanks, Julia. So we have available funding for 20 Thrive grants of $5,000 each. So there will be priority levels to funding if we get more eligible applicants than we have for funds. Staff will review all applications for eligibility and also determine new and returning applicant status. New applicants are those who have not previously applied to the Thrive program, and returning applicants are those who have previously applied to the Thrive program. And it is important to note that previous applications to Rhode Island Humanities outside of the Thrive program do not affect your new return applicant status. So if you have applied for a mini grant program last year but have never applied for Thrive, you would be a new applicant. And of course, if we have resources available for all eligible applicants, all applicants will receive funding. But if there are more eligible applicants than resources available, the priority list will be as follows. The first is return applicants whose previous Thrive applications did not receive funding but were eligible. The second is new applicants, with further priority given to organizations with the smallest projected income for the current fiscal year. And secondary would be organizations and municipalities that are not otherwise receiving funding in this grant cycle, or if that's not the case, organizations and municipalities that didn't receive funding in earlier grant cycles. And finally, return applicants whose previous Thrive applications did receive funding with priority given to those same qualifications, the smallest projected income for the current fiscal year and underrepresented municipalities.
Great. So in terms of what you'll need in order to fill out the application. We have done our best to make the application only ask for the information we need to determine eligibility and priority. So hopefully you should find it pretty straightforward after listening to this information session. So just to note that new and returning applicants fill out the same form with the same questions this year through our grants portal. Last year, the applications were slightly different for those two groups, but this year they're the same. So when you do go to fill out the application, these are some helpful things to have on hand. So you'll want two authorized officials from your organization. These should be people that have legal and financial authority within your organization. Oftentimes, they're the people that can sign a check, if that's a helpful way to think about it. Usually the ED, if you have a director of finance or a comptroller or a CFO or something, that person. Oftentimes the board president, the board treasurer, but really whatever makes sense in terms of how your organization is structured. We're also going to be asking for your organizational mission statement as a way of determining eligibility, and then to confirm that eligibility requirement about your projected income for your current fiscal year being under $150,000 a year. We're going to be asking for an overall summary of your organization's budget for your current fiscal year. And we have also new this year a provided required template that we're going to go over next that you'll need to fill out for this. And then we're also going to ask for you to provide documentation of registration as a nonprofit corporation in good standing with the Rhode Island Department of State. So you can find this on the Rhode Island Department of State website. We provide the link in the application. You could just go to their website and they have a database of all nonprofits that are registered with them. So you type in your organization's name, pull up your record, turn that into a PDF and upload that right into the application. There is a request certificate button on that page. You can request the certificate, you don't need to. We're really just looking for that PDF of the data record in the database. And again, that information and an example are on our, right in the application itself. And in terms of the application itself, you can find a reference PDF of that application on our website. So you don't, in order to see what the application is like, you don't have to log into our grants portal and make an account. You can just go to our Thrive website and click on the reference PDF so that you are oriented that way. But we will note that you can't apply that way. That really is just for your reference. So if you do want to apply, you do need to go onto the grants portal and fill out and submit an application there. So in terms of that template that I talked about, let's take a look at that now. Okay, so here we are in the template. We've tried to keep this as straightforward as possible. So it's in an Excel spreadsheet, and you'll start by filling out the name of your organization here, and then you'll give us the start date and the end date of your current fiscal year. We know everyone's fiscal years are different. Rhode Island Humanities starts in November, ends in October. Whatever yours is in, please put the start date and end date here. If you do have a fiscal year that kind of changes around the time of this application period, we understand that can be tricky. So I would go with whatever fiscal year you'll be in as of November 1st, because the deadline for the program is for the application is November 10th. So let's go with November. So whatever fiscal year you're in as of November. So to fill this out, there are two columns, and each of them automatically sums in these cells here. So this column is for budgeted income, projected income for your current fiscal year. So you're going to fill out in each of these rows the kind of high-level income source. So foundation grants, individual donations, etc., and the corresponding amount of income you project in that category. And that's going to sum over here. I will note that when you're filling this out, we're asking you to only count count operating expenses and not capital expenditures. So you would not include any expenses from an annual income statement you would include expenses from an annual income statement being rent, payroll, or program expenses, but you would not include purchases or expenditures that become assets in your organization's balance sheet. So investments, endowments, capital investments of property, equipment, furniture, etc. So those would not go on this. So kind of going to that here in this budgeted expenses category, you're filling out those line items of your operating expenses that would be on your annual income statement. So examples being rent, staffing, etc. And those are going to sum here. And then the balance here is just automatically calculates income minus expenses. So also in this spreadsheet is an example. Julia's Rhode Island History Museum, our fiscal year is the calendar year. And you're seeing, we have $70,000 of income projected or budgeted in these high level categories: foundation grants, membership fees, individual donations, ticket income, government grants. And then we have $69,000 of expenses budgeted, ranging from rent to marketing, security system install, HVAC repairs, etc. And then these are automatically, income minus expenses. We have $1,000 for a balance. And when you download the template, this example tab will be here for your reference if that is helpful for you to look at more closely. Okay. So to go a little bit more in depth into the timeline that we've been mentioning, the application is going to be open on the grant making portal September 29th. So if you're watching this before September 29th and you go on the grant making portal and you don't see it, nothing's wrong. It's just not open yet, but we will open it on that date. If you would like us staff to review a draft of the application, we're happy to do that. You just need to get us that by October 24th. So you would fill out the application in the portal, you would save it, and then you'd send us an email asking us for that feedback. And then the application deadline is November 10th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a hard deadline, so just know if you're someone that likes to go to the last minute, once it hits midnight, it will close. So you would not be able to submit it after that time. And then we will let you know an award decision by December 12th, 2025. And if you do receive an award, you would receive those funds in January 2026, and you would have until June 30th, 2026 to spend them. So about 6 months for that grant period for spending that $5,000.
Thanks, Julia. So how to apply for the Thrive grant? Again, it will open on September 29th, and you will use the grant portal to apply. However, if you're not familiar with the grant portal or need a reminder on how to get there, please go to our website, rihumanities.org, and from there in the menu, you can select grants and then select Thrive, and you will head to this homepage you see here, and on the right-hand side will be all of the resources you can access, including a reference PDF, FAQs, and then a application button that you'll see circled there. That button will take you to the grants portal where you can either put in the credentials for your organization that you already have or sign up and create credentials for your organization. If you need help, of course, we do have a plethora of resources on our website on that right-hand side I just described, including the PDF of the application, the FAQs, and that required budget template that Julia went over. We will also be posting this video on the website as well for your reference. And you will also see our one-on-one meeting links that you can book with us if you have more in-depth questions or just want to chat about the program itself. We are here to help. You are able to also email us at grants@rihumanities.org. We both check that inbox and will reply accordingly. And again, if you need help with your application, please let us know. We are happy to help and give more in-depth feedback if you notify us before the 24th of October. Okay, so if you have received a Thrive grant, congratulations. We are very excited. You must submit some award paperwork to receive the funds. We will provide you with that paperwork to fill out, so no need to worry. All of the funds must be spent by the end of that grant cycle, which is June 30th, 2026. And something that's different for the Thrive grant than, say, a project grant, it is okay to change what you are spending the funds on as long as the funds are still eligible. If you were originally planning on doing some minor maintenance, but you need to transition and use the money for staffing, that's totally okay. If you have questions on whether or not an expense would be eligible, of course, send us an email or schedule a meeting with us and we can help. You will only have one report that is required for this grant, and that's the final report, which is due 90 days after the end of the grant cycle, which takes you to September 30th. And again, we are happy to provide any resources and support and answer any questions that we can.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your interest in the Thrive program. We are so excited to connect with you. I'm happy to hear your questions and look forward to receiving your application. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and wishing you all the best and looking forward to being in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.